So today it's a big testing day. It's a day where all the tests seem to happen at the same time, by chance of calendar. I'm going to register the tests and talk a bit about each of them. And I register the tests here with an app called Aquarium Note. It has a place to register the results of the tests and also reminders of tasks that I need to do with the tank. So I'll add another suite of tests, and the first thing I need to add is temperature. To check the temperature, I'm going to use the Seneye, and it is 24.6 degrees Celsius. So 24.6. Then I have some data related to the calcium reactor, the pressure from on the CO2, and the two gauges that are there are registering 65 and 1000. They have been stable for a long time. Then we have a nitrate test. So we need 1 millimeter of water, I got it here, 4 drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, and one level scoop of this powder, which is the second reagent, which they say should be pressed against the sides. And what I do next, I use the cap to remove the excess back into the container. So and then they say that you should swirl gently for 30 seconds. The nice thing about this app is that it allows you to have timers pre-programmed. So 30 seconds. Done. And now we have a second timer which tells us to wait 3 minutes before checking the results. The thing I like particularly about the Salifert test is that it has 2 ways of checking the results. When you have high numbers, you simply put it as I have it here and you check the color. When you have a very low number, which most of us want to have normally, you can check the vial from the side and then divide the corresponding value by 10. So for example, if then you look instead from the top, from the side, and see that here says 50, then it means you have 5 nitrates. If it says it has 10, then you have 1. So it becomes really accurate for low ranges. And that's the reason why I think I'll continue to use this nitrate test from Salifert. It's also one of the least expensive ones. And each of the pack is enough for 60 tests. So it's a little over a year for me, because I do a test of nitrates once per week. In general, I think Salifert is my favorite brand for tests, because it has a good value and a good reputation, and it reportedly have very good accuracy. And in terms of the nitrates test, well, this thing of having 2 ways of checking, it's great. And nowadays there's lots of talks about having devices that enable you to monitor nitrate. Even I've heard about it from Seneye, but it isn't a reality yet. It was from Mindstream But unfortunately things haven't turned out very good for Mindstream, and it seems it's out of business. It's a real shame. Real shame. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think ABEX also has a device which monitors nitrates. At least they were working on it. I'm not sure if they have it ready yet. So it's nearly ready, and from the top it's impossible to see the color because it's a very low number. Okay, so I have to watch it from the side, and from the side it's a very low number at the moment. I could check it from the side. You normally watch it like this. Of course, I'm putting this in this position so you can see how we look. We look in this direction instead of from the top. We look like this, so we look through a great amount of water. And I see that it's around here. So it's 2. It means that I now have close to 0.2 of nitrates. It's too low for my taste. I'll probably be dosing nitrates again. I stopped, but now I think it's time to dose nitrates again. I'm going to wash the vial with some RO water and put it back in the package. Of course, each tank is different, and in my case, this is a dangerous situation. Why? Because when my nitrates get this low, I start to get dinos. I don't see dinos in the tank at the moment, but the story used to be this. Low nitrates, which means close to undetectable, it means dinos for me. So it's a bit of a dangerous situation. I need to check that. Then for phosphates. Well, for phosphates, it's one of the cases where the Salifert test is of no use for me, because in the values that we normally work and want to have our tanks, it's really almost impossible to have an accurate result. So I went with the Hanna. So it's I must say that these are my least favorite tests to do, is the phosphate tests. I really don't like doing them at all, because there are so many steps in the cleaning and the position of, if you want to be accurate, the position of, well, I'll walk you through the whole thing. I keep the vials with RO water to prevent some water stains from building up on the sides of the glass. I'm going to throw away the water. Okay, now let's collect 10 millimeters of water. And one of the problems I have is that if I measure through the syringe here, in this 5 millimeter syringe, and I use it twice, it doesn't measure exactly here to the line on the vial for the 10 milliliters. What I do, well, because important is to be consistent, I use the line just the same. And the problem with using the line is that you must take into account that when you have water inside, it forms a curve. And when it forms a curve, you must choose which part. And normally I use the bottom, the lowest part of the curve to match this line. You really have to go through a great deal of trouble if you want to have consistency and accurate results. So the first thing is we close the vial, we clean it. And then I normally use the same side of the vial facing the front of the device. So I'm going to turn it on. This is the phosphate OLER. So I'm going to place with the 10 millimeters turned to the front. Press once. This is a sort of calibration process, I think. And now it's waiting for the second measurement, which will be done with the reagent inside. This is also a pain. Everything about this test is a huge pain to do because you have powder collecting in the corners. You must make sure that they're out of the corners that you're going to cut. And then you have to cut along the line. You fold it so that the powder can slide through the fold. There it is, the powder is at the bottom. And then inside slowly at first, giving small kicks at the bottom to get the powder inside. Must be very careful so that no powder and I really wish they had some other way of getting the powder inside. This is not user-friendly at all. Trying to get every little piece of powder out. So we close it. And now the instructions say that you must shake this for 2 minutes. So I'll use the timer which I have already pre-programmed for the phosphate test. And there we go. I don't shake it too vigorously. I shake it just the same every time. I think it's enough. I do this, and also I don't like to shake it because if you shake it too much, you start collecting micro bubbles, and that affects the results. This phosphate UL air has a it stays connected on for 7 minutes, so it gives time to do this. The previous versions, I think, only gave you a couple of minutes to do, maybe 3 minutes. I think it was maybe 3 minutes to do all this. I think it was. So you really had to rush before this thing turned off, and had to prepare everything, cut the packet open, fold it, everything. I hate it, but I have no better option. There's no news about possibility of monitoring phosphates from anywhere, and I've heard it's almost impossible task at the moment. So the other ones based with colors are very inaccurate, especially at very low ranges that we want to be. So there's no better option. I hate it, but it's the best. And I hate doing these tests, and I have 2 more tests from Hanna to do today that I've never performed before. I'm going to learn how to do it. So we're almost there. And then we have to clean it for the second time to make sure there are no fingerprints, dust, whatever, any markings that disturb. Okay, we're there. Let's clean it. And I always feel that I haven't cleaned it well enough because I can't see what I'm cleaning. So back into the device with the 10 millimeters turned to the front and press for a few seconds and wait 3 minutes. So the phosphates are at 0.04. Well, I think it's very good. Let's turn it off and clean it with RO water and fill it again with RO water. So phosphates 0.04. Okay, it's filled with RO water, and I'm going to clean it for the third time because I don't want water stains on the outside either. And I'm going to talk a bit about the result of this test. This is not the result I usually get from phosphates on my tank. I normally get between 0.7, 0.1, 0.11. I usually don't get the results this low. And thinking about it, what has changed in the tank to bring the phosphates down? When the phosphates normally are above maybe 0.15 or something like that, I use lanthanum chloride to bring phosphates down closer to 0.1. And it works very well. But to get it down here, it's not lanthanum chloride that does this, because when there are very low phosphates in the water, let's say below 0.1, the lanthanum chloride starts to bind to other stuff and instead brings your alkalinity down. So I don't use it when phosphates are below 0.1, never. Why are they now 0.04? The thing that I did, I think 3 days ago, was that I dosed rebiotic bacteria because my tank had a bit of a change 8 months ago, and I think increasing the bacteria diversity and consuming whatever detritus are in the rocks, because I always see some dust accumulating in the rocks, could be a good idea. So I'm doing a 6 weeks treatment with those bacteria, and I think those bacteria are responsible for this and maybe for this. I'll see how it goes. Today it's a day that I have to dose bacteria again. So this horrible test is out of the way. Let's get with the following, which is salinity. And salinity, I have two options. So these two options, one is the Scionix, which I'm not happy with it and I don't trust. No, at all. Because I've tried calibrating it many times, and it very quickly becomes completely whacked. The values get completely whacked. It's still useful because if you want to compare the water from two tanks, you just dip it in one tank and to another. So it's very good when you are acclimating fish, when you're making new water. I use it a lot. So it's not good to get a precise reading for me. It's very good to get comparisons. So instead of this, I'll just check in the tank to see what it gives me now. So it says that the tank water is at 1.027, 35.7, and now I'm going to check with the refractometer. I got this refractometer from D&D because it's a refractometer built specifically for saltwater, and it should be calibrated with RO water, which is something unheard of. They specifically advise you to calibrate this with RO water and not any other kind of calibration solution, which is very, very useful because calibration solutions get decalibrated themselves very quickly from use. And so to be able to calibrate even this vial that they send as RO water inside. It's very useful. So I'm going to check with the refractometer. So the refractometer tells me a bit of a different story. And it says that it is 1.26, 34.5. I'm cleaning it. I'll do another reading again. The reason I do normally 2 readings, it's because the first reading many times has some salt residue still in the refractometer and it brings the salinity up. And so my second reading now gives me 1.255, closer to 34. So second reading for me is the one that counts. After the refractometer had been used once and it cleans away. I could also use wash it before and after with RO water, but I'm so sick of washing things with RO water, so I'll do this. Now, this is one of my favorite tests to do, the KH. Many people also like Hanna for this, but my dislike of doing Hanna tests, no. I don't care. It's a quick test. It's very easy to do. So I'll do it by hand. So 4 milliliters of water, 4 drops of the first reagent, 1, 2, 3, 4, swirl for 5 seconds, and now let's fill the syringe with 1 millimeter of the second. Close the cap to prevent evaporation while you're doing the test. I'll put this inside and swirl, drop by drop, swirling. Because I put the syringe pretty down inside the vial, I don't care if a bit of the reagent gets on the sides because I'm swirling and it eventually gets back inside. It's getting there. It's a bit purplish. Almost there. And it's there. Because I always keep the same color for me as reference. If someone comes here, maybe chooses the different tone, but I know exactly the tone that I'll be looking for. So I've got here exactly 0.4 milliliters, which corresponds in the table they have here to 9.3, which is a bit below of what I normally like to keep. I'll talk a bit more about it after I clean it. I like to keep my tank close to 10 at this stage of its life, because at this stage I want to have fast growth, because I have many small frags still. When they get to medium-sized colonies, I'll probably start to bring the KH very slowly down, closer to 8. Because at higher alkalinity levels you get faster growth. So KH 9.3, I prefer to keep it at 10. I'll see what I'll do now. Calcium. I'm using this. Well, why I'm using the Aquaforest test for calcium? Well, it's good. At least it has given me consistent results, and I bought it because, as far as I remember, they were in promotion at the time. So, lots of stuff inside. This is the calibration, the reference solution. I used it once. This is their table to read the results. And VA, the syringe. So first let's collect 2 millimeters of water. Okay, we got 2 millimeters. 2 milliliters, and now we get, the good thing is that they have on one side the table in just a simple paper, and on the other we have the instructions, because it's a long, I already know this by heart, of course, by now. So right now we need 1 scoop of this powder. Level. Then 10 drops of reagent B. I think this is almost empty, but they give you 2 of them. Let's see. One. And it's over, but it was a full drop. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we swirl it for 5 seconds. And now it's time to fill the syringe again. One milliliter. Close this, and let's go again. I go pretty fast at the early stages and slower after I reach the range that is closer to the 400 mark. And then you wait for 10 seconds to check that it's, when it gets purple, to see if it gets to blue, and it does. Yeah, it's blue. So we have here 1.3. The remainder goes back inside. (1.3) corresponds on their table to 435 calcium. Because I run the alkalinity normally a bit higher, my calcium should also be a bit higher. Let's wash it again. Well, but for the sake of stability, I don't want to do anything about it. From calcium, we go to magnesium. I got these two tests at the same time. And magnesium is the reason I hold somewhat of a grudge against Aquaforest. So here's the instructions. There's one extra step. So this is the A, the B, the C, this is another A. This is the reference solution, which I did use, and I'm going to tell you why. Well, let's start by collecting 2 millimeters. This is a nice syringe because it's flat. When they have that curved end, it makes it very difficult to be sure and precise. So we got the 2 millimeters. We need 5 drops of reagent A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we need 3 drops of reagent B. 1, 2, 3. I try to make sure that I keep the vials vertically aligned so that the drops have the correct amount of liquid. Then we should swirl it for 5 seconds. And add 1 scoop of this powder, which I think is a colorimeter. And then we should swirl it for 10 seconds. Now let's go into the titration part, and I'll tell you why I hold a grudge against Aquaforest because of magnesium. When I set up this tank 8 months ago, I needed to make a great deal of new water because I upgraded from my 400 liters cube to and that was, now I have more than double the water than I have. So I made maybe 70% of the volume of the new tank was also new water because I had to use old water for other stuff. Let's see. It will be a long time before almost the whole amount of liquid to get it to blue. Okay, it's blue and it's at 0.06. It's 410. 1410. Let's get the remainder here. And what happened was the following. I used the Aquaforest salt to make the most of the water for the new tank. And the move between tanks didn't go very well. I had some losses. And while some of them, I'm not sure if I can attribute them to the salt, the thing was that all my snails died, and I checked the magnesium, and the magnesium was close to 1700. And I made a new batch of water just to check, and it was close to 1700. And then I called the shop where I bought the salt, and they told me that they had similar complaints from that batch of salt, and that they had already contacted Aquaforest. And Aquaforest basically never assumed that they had a problem, because you see here they say that ICP testing verified, etc. And they also have ICP tests results that you can check on the bottom of the buckets of salt. And I checked that batch, and it had a very normal amount of salt according to ICP, but according to the test I did here, and especially according to the snails that died, it was not. And they never acknowledged the problem, and that's the reason I no longer use their salt. And I hold a bit of a grudge against them. So probably I won't be getting even these tests from Aquaforest from them, no. Because they said it must have been the salt that have compacted during transport and things like that, and no, it wasn't anything like that. So I questioned their honesty and reliability, and I had bad luck, because I did a whole amount of water suddenly with a bad batch of salt from them. So everything's clean. The problem is that the packages are so alike that sometimes I put things that don't belong in one package inside the other. Like, for example, this doesn't belong here, this doesn't belong here, this doesn't belong here, and this doesn't belong here. Now I think it's correct. It happened to me many times, and because now I'm making the video while testing, it's very likely that it would happen again. So, next I'm going to check some data in the calcium reactor, which I need to check how is the CO2, the bubbles per minute, and the effluent rate. Be right back. So CO2, it's 49 bubbles per minute, and the effluent 220 milliliters per minute. I know this is not the proper way to run a calcium reactor, but it kind of works, so I let it go. Okay, now I'm going into uncharted territory, because I got 4 new tests, and the reason I got these 4 new tests is to control trace elements. So what did I get? I got Salifert Strontium test, Potassium also from Salifert. I also got 2 new tests from Hanna, the iron and the iodine. Why did I go well? To start with, Hanna doesn't have potassium or strontium checkers, and the reason I went again with Hanna on this, although I normally hate their doing their tests, once again has to do with precision and the fact that all the other tests for iron and iodine are very labor intensive. I'm curious to see, I don't know what are the instructions for this, but I checked some videos and these seem very straightforward. So let's start with, I'm afraid of this. So let's start with potassium test. Quite a small package. Here are the instructions. It has the instructions here, and I must read them, but let's get everything out so I can identify everything. We have K1, K3, K2, couple of vials, 2 syringes. No tips for any of them. And this has a red thing on top. Let's see. So, potassium concentration in natural seawater is approximately blah, 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 blah. Let's get going. Very important, before commencing with each test, it is very important to clean the nozzle, including the tip of it, of the K3 dropper bottle with a paper tissue. Even if the nozzle looks clean and dry, do this by applying a slight pressure on the tissue while cleaning. Do not put the cap back on the K3 bottle until the test has been fully performed. Well, this starts well, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, so they give this very important instruction. I have to go back to it after reading everything. The test requires only one test vial. The extra test vial allows an extra test to be performed while one of the vials is undergoing a cleaning procedure. 1. With the unlabeled syringe, add 1 mm of aquarium water to the test vial. There will be a small air bubble, approximately 0.05 milliliter in the syringe. Do not attempt to remove this bubble. Okay, let's get 1 milliliter. Done. Add 0.5 milliliters of K1 using the red labeled syringe in the test vial. The same, there will be a bubble. So, and they say that it's the K3 that we shouldn't put the cap back on. They were talking at the beginning about the K3, so the K1. Okay, so I was ready to put 1 milliliter. No, it's half a milliliter. There we have. This one we can cap and get it back inside. So the liquid turned white. Third, swirl the test vial gently for at least 20 seconds. So let me get some timer here. Okay, and now they say add to the test vial 3 drops of the K2. Hold the dropper bottle as vertical as possible. There is no need to swirl it. So 3 drops. 1, 2, 3. Now comes the part with the K3. Add the test vial K3 dropwise. Hold the dropper bottle as vertical as possible. Swirl gently for 2 seconds after each drop. Continue adding K3 dropwise until the color changes from white or yellowish color to a baby blue, light blue color. The change is very dramatic. See also the remarks, and they're very important. So they say that we should clean the nozzle with some paper tissue. Overall, this test doesn't seem too bad to perform. So okay, seems clean. And now we should with this test, the more K3 has to be added, the lower the potassium value is. After completing of the test, make sure that all reagents are kept tightly. Blah, blah. So we must count the number of drops. And swirl 2 seconds. They say do not put the cap back on the K3 bottle until the test has been fully performed. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's baby blue on 6. It's a very light blue, but it changed very noticeably. I'll just add one more drop just to see if it changes any further. No, it stays the same. So it's 6 drops. Oh, I like this test. There's not much guesswork in terms of colors. So 6 drops, it's 440 potassium, and I believe it. I believe it because I've done an ICP test very recently and it was very close to this. So potassium 440. They say now test vial cleaning procedure. Discard the test sample, rinse the vial several times with tap water. There will be some scale left. Yes, you can see this is very dirty. Remove as much as possible of the scale by using a paper tissue. Twist the tissue inside the vial. A thin scale formation will be left. All or practically all of that can be removed by filling the test vial with plain vinegar, or even better, a 5 to 10 solution of citric acid. Allow it to stand for 12 to 24 hours. After this, rinse a few times with tap water and once, if present, with RO water. Let the vial dry. An extra vial is added to the kit for your convenience, so next time I can use the other. I'm going to try to clean this one. I tried to clean this with RO water, but as you can see, it doesn't get us very far. So I'm going to try to put some paper inside, as they recommended. No, this thing really needs vinegar, as they say. Yes, it does. So I'm going to put this to clean it with vinegar for the next time. Okay, but overall I like this test. Although the part of cleaning the vials it's not very pleasant, but seems very easy. The scale here, it goes for 400, 410, 420. Yeah, the scale goes from 250 to 470. So quite like this test. Yeah. I'm not sure how many tests can you perform with this. Up to 40 tests. And this was not an expensive test. €12.90, I think. So happy with this one from Salifert. Continuing with Salifert, this is a bigger package for Strontium. Not liking the weight on this thing. So here we have the Strontium 5. 5. This is the Strontium 3. This is the Strontium 1. This is the Strontium 2. And this is the Strontium 4. God. The instructions are here. Here we have a scoop. And we have 3 syringes, one of them with a tip. 1, 2, 3 syringes and 1 scoop. Oh, I'm loving this already. So, warning. Strontium contains sodium hydroxide and is corrosive. Okay. Careful with this one. Then it's general information about importance of strontium in the aquarium. And they say careful about using the wrong syringes. Cleaning. After use, rinse the test vial several times with warm water. Again, if some material is left on the walls, use vinegar. Clean scoop with water and make it dry with some tissue. Empty the syringes after use. Remaining reagent can be put back. Don't put back the reagent in a wrong bottle. Oh god, I think I'm going to do this. Never rinse the syringes with water. Let's get going. This has very long instructions with 10 steps. Let's get going. Fill the test vial with 2 milliliters of water. It's this syringe. So, 2 milliliters of water. Then add 20 drops of strontium 1 and swirl gently for approximately 10 seconds. 20 drops. It's more reagent than water. Okay, let's get going. 1, 2, these are fat drops. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have to squeeze hard. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. These are very fat drops. And then swirl for 10 seconds. One of the drops at the end was right after the other, and I felt it was a little smaller than the previous one, but these are 20 drops, and the difference will be minimal. Add 1 level spoon of strontium 2. Swirl gently for 5 seconds. The color should be red or pink. Let's go to the 2. These are some big scoops. They should bring these things as pills to avoid error. because there's always a small difference in the size of each scoop you make. Okay, then swirl gently for 5 seconds. Okay. Fill the 1 millimeter syringe without the red label with a small plastic tip. Ensure that the tip is mounted firmly. Fill the syringe with 1 milliliter of Strontium 3, lower end of black rubber ring at 1 milliliter mark. Dose this amount in the test vial and swirl gently for 20 seconds. If the color has changed to blue and remains so even after an additional 30 seconds, then the calcium concentration is far too low, because there's a relation here with the calcium. But I check my calcium, I guess this won't happen. It should be corrected first before doing strontium testing, which means you shouldn't do this test if your calcium is below 300. Well, I guess this won't happen, so let's fill this with 1 milliliter. Well, this should be added straight in. Dose the amount and swirl gently for 20 seconds. Okay. Now let's get a timer here. This thing is still pink, so we can proceed. And okay, the next step is interesting. I need the syringe again. So again, fill this syringe, the same syringe, with 1 milliliter of strontium 3. Add this dropwise to the test vial. Swirl gently for a few seconds after each drop, until the color changes to blue. If the color has changed to blue, then swirl gently for 15 seconds. It is very likely that the color will revert back and will not be pure blue. In that case, add one more drop of strontium 3 and swirl again for 15 seconds. Repeat this until the color remains blue. So I need it's this one. I need to fill it again with 1 milliliter. And now it's drop by drop. And we wait until it gets to blue. Okay, it's getting purplish. So we should wait, as they say, 15 seconds. It's kind of very light purple. Yeah, it's coming back to pink. One more drop. Yeah, it's blue now. Now let it stay. Let's see if it still reverts back. It's still blue, but a slightly purplish tint. I'm going to check what's the number here. It's 0.57, but let's see if this makes any change. Back to blue. Now it's blue. Let's wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, this thing is blue. And the syringe is on 5.5. If I add one more drop, I guess it made a change. It did. So it did make a change. So now let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and this thing is blue. Okay, and the syringe now is in 5.3. Hold the syringe with the plastic tip facing upward. Read the value at the upper part of the black rubber ring. Okay, it's as I said, 5.3. Look for this value in the calcium table to get the calcium concentration. Oh, so this was just to get the calcium. And I have here the 0.53, which is close to, because we have here in the table 0.52 and 0.56, which correspond to 440 and 428. So I think it gets very close to what I had, 435 with the Aquaforest test, and this it seems to be 435. Yeah, I believe it, because it's between 428 and 440, but closer to the 440, so I think it's right on. It's I'll go with the 435. So next, so this reagent can go back inside the remainder. Yes, this is Strontium 3. Oh god. This is so easy to mess up. Now we get this one. Fill the 1 milliliter syringe with the red label. No plastic tip needed and is not supplied. With 0.5 milliliters of Strontium 4, lower end of the black rubber ring at 0.5 milliliter mark. Add this to the test vial and swirl gently for 10 seconds. The color will now be red-pink. The thing that I see is that whenever you measure strontium, you automatically measure calcium. Well, not bad. I don't think I need to get another calcium test then. I didn't know about this. So 0.5. here and add it. And swirl for 10 seconds. Okay, they say that the color will now be red or pink. Yes, it's very pinkish. Add one level scoop of strontium 5 and swirl gently until this powder has dissolved. Let it stand for 12 to 15 minutes. Damn. We need the scoop again. I think I need to remove the extra with the cap. No, this doesn't work out fine. Okay. This is the strontium 5. And now we swirl it. Till the powder has dissolved. Still powder at the bottom. Okay, we now need something like 15 minutes. Okay, now it has dissolved. So, then we have to fill the 1 milliliter syringe without the yellow label. What yellow label? I think they must mean the red table. There must be an error here in the instructions. And fit it with the plastic tip with 1 milliliter of strontium 3 again. Add this dropwise to the test vial. Swirl gently for 20 seconds. Should definitely not be less than 20 seconds. After each drop. So, this will be fun. You add one drop and then you swirl for 20 seconds each time, and they really emphasize that it should definitely not be less than 20 seconds with an exclamation mark. After each drop until the color changes to blue. And then we have another table here. Another table. Then we can convert the result from the syringe to the strontium. Well, because I have to wait a great deal of time, I'm going to talk a bit why I'm doing this insane amount of testing to the tank. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's really insane. The thing is that I'm dosing the Red Sea Colors program. Let me get the bottles. So this is not the Red Sea. I'll get into that. So these are the 4 bottles. The first one is iodine, bromine, and fluorine. The second one is potassium and boron. The third one iron and complementary trace elements complex. So there are some other metals in here, I think. It's iron plus, because other stuff. And these, it's a very random assortment of bioactive trace elements. In total, there are 30-something elements here. The instructions by Red Sea are very easy to follow if you use the complete line of their products, which is not the case for me. Then they have some guidelines of about the amount you should dose depending on the type of tank that you have. I found out that I can't apply these guidelines to my tank. I'm not sure about other tanks, but if I follow their guidelines and dose the same amount of each bottle, the trace elements get unbalanced. What do I get? And I've done already 3 ICP testings, and I noticed the same thing is that if I dose just the amount of iodine they say, my iodine gets really low. If I dose the amount of potassium they say, my potassium gets really high. Iron gets very, very low, to the point that it's almost untraceable. And these ones, I don't have the last one, which is the bioactive elements. I don't have the faintest idea. ICP testing theoretically could be a good help in regulating the dosing, but I would need to be doing ICP testing very frequently. I normally do at most a couple of ICP tests per year, and of course one of the goals was to find out how much of each of these bottles I should dose. And the other reason I do the ICP testing is to get a general idea of the health of the tank in terms of contaminants. If there aren't if there isn't any contaminant getting to dangerous levels. But the thing is that ICP is notoriously unprecise, unreliable in this measuring these things, iron and things like that. Many people have done tests with ICP, sending this samples of water to different companies, and they get very different results. So if you're chasing values, ICP is not a good option, I think. That's the reason I got all these tests now, which now I just did the potassium, and you see my potassium was fine and I haven't been dosing potassium. Now I'm waiting for the strontium, and there isn't strontium in any of these bottles. The reason is because when you're following the Red Sea methods of managing the tank, there's strontium in other products that you dose the aquarium, not the colors. So I've been dosing through an Aquaforest product but it's a very small amount. And you see the price would be huge just to carry off strontium with these small bottles. So what did I do? I took the opportunity in the Black Friday and I got a bucket of 4 kilos of strontium to dose to the tank. I don't think in the next years I'll need to get more dosium supplements. I'm still waiting for it to arrive. And so this is running out soon. And the other 2 tests that I have over there from Hanna will cover iron and iodine. And iron and, well, these 3 are important. Iodine is very important for the tank, of course. Everybody knows that. Potassium, I think it has a great deal of importance in terms of color and health in certain mechanisms inside the corals. Iron, of course, also very useful when you're growing algae, which is my case, of course. And I don't have the faintest idea what's going on here with the bioactive elements. I'll just go and follow probably an average amount of the other three. I'll just follow that and let here I have no option. I have to let the ICP tests that I do a couple of times per year to dictate if I'm going overboard or not, and then regulate. What did I get recently to take care of the dosing of these? Because I've been dosing these manually a couple of times per week. So I got a dosing pump with 6 heads, which will allow me to dose the 4 bottles of the Red Sea colors plus the strontium solution and plus 1. And I still need to get one more dosing pump. I need to make a video about this, about managing your reef tank based on the fun levels. The method you choose to manage your tank should be adequate to your personality, to your lifestyle, so that you can carry it long term. I have fun doing this stuff, and having this kind of control, I wouldn't need it to have this kind of mad controlling, doing all these mad amount of tests. It's really not necessary to carry on with the tank. But in the end, this is a hobby that you should have fun with, and I'm having fun with this, doing all these crazy tests, and then seeing the trends over time. At the beginning, I'm going to probably do these tests once per week. And once I see that the tank is, in terms of the levels of these trace elements, is stable, I'll reduce it then to a couple of times per month and hopefully get to once per month. Let's see how this goes. This time is absurd. We have to wait 20 minutes to proceed. Nice. I've been talking in front of the vial. I hope I don't have any saliva inside the vial. So next we'll need strontium 3 again and a syringe. In the last ICP test I did with strontium, strontium came out low, about half the amount it should be. Here they say that, well, my idea, according to what I have read, is that strontium should be close to 10 ppm. And they say your natural seawater contains approximately 7 to 9 milligrams per liter, which is ppm, strontium. In reef tanks, values between 10 and 15 are excellent. If possible, conduct strontium measurements once or twice a month, depending on coral growth. Strontium depletion rate. Calcium is present in natural seawater in a concentration of approximately 400 to 450 milligrams per liter. Alkalinity should be approximately 8 dkh. And then they say strontium concentration can be increased and maintained with Salifert strontium. For the sake of just maintaining strontium concentration together with calcium and trace elements, Salifert Corp. Here they are advertising their own products, of course. Well, the thing is that they say that you should swirl for 20 seconds for each drop you put in the vial. But according to what I see here in the table, you can check. Here is the table. You don't put a great deal amount of drops because the reading will go from 0.93, no, it goes for 0.93 to 1. So you will not be putting a great amount of liquid inside. So I hope, hopefully, it won't be many drops. Because I can only imagine how long it would take if you had to put something like 30 drops inside or 20 drops and wait 20 seconds between each drop. I'm going to use the timer here. I can't believe I still have 2 tests to go. Hopefully those don't make me wait for so long. Let's fill this up again. Okay. Because this is such a minute amount. Okay, let's get going again. 1 drop, and this should change to what color? The color must change to blue. So 1 drop and wait 20 seconds. While swirling. Another drop. This thing is already purple. Another drop. This is purple, not blue yet. Okay, another. Okay, now is I think this is blue. I'll add another drop just to check. And right now it's 0.85. Don't think it will get bluer than this, but okay, let's get it to 0.9. Yeah, this thing is now it's gray, a bluish gray. So let's get it to 0.9 because I think I went a little overboard. So according to their table, yeah, I'm out of strontium. Because it says it's here, they have here in the table that See here in the table 093, and I'm below that. So I'm at 0 basically. So I must dose strontium more liberally. Okay, back, and take notice of strontium 0. And clean this one. Okay, strontium ready. So this is iodine. Okay, let's hope this is simpler to use. This is a reference. These are the instructions. Okay, I have to get this ready. We'll continue it shortly. This video is taking much more time than I expected, and I expected a long time. Let's make a pause. Okay, let's continue. So here we have some reagent, and we need to put the battery inside. This almost feels like one of those videos when people stay for hours, sometimes just counting to 100,000 or saying the prime numbers. Because it seems never-ending testing. How do I take this thing out? Okay. Here's the battery. I think it's this way. So, tips for an accurate measurement. It's important that the sample does not contain any debris. Whenever the cuvette is placed into the measurement cell, it must be dry outside and completely free of fingerprints, oil and dirt. Wipe it thoroughly with whatever the code is here, or a lint-free cloth prior to insertion. They didn't include a cloth in this one. Don't think so. Shaking the cuvette can generate bubbles, causing higher readings. To obtain accurate measurements, remove bubbles by swirling or by gently tapping the cuvette. Do not let reacted samples stand for too long after reagent is added, as accuracy will be affected. After the reading, it is important to immediately discard the sample, otherwise the glass might become permanently stained. I think I have the battery the other way around. Let me check. Yeah. So the instructions. Turn the meter by pressing the button. All segments will be displayed. When the display shows at C1, press C1 with press blinking. The meter is ready. Okay. Fill the cuvette with 10 milliliters of unreacted sample and replace the cap. Place the cuvette into the meter and close the meter's cap. Then press the button when the display shows at C2. Then press the blinking, the meter is zeroed. With press, blinking, the meter is zeroed. Remove the cuvette from the meter and unscrew the cap. Wait, I'm confused. So when it's on, we put the cuvette inside and then we fill the cuvette, press the button. When it shows at C2, with press, blinking, the meter is zeroed. Remove the cuvette, add the content of 1 packet reagent, replace the cap and shake gently for 20 seconds. Place the cuvette back into the meter. Press and hold the button until the timer is displayed on the LCD. So this is very similar to the phosphate test. The display will show the countdown prior to the measurement, or alternatively, wait for 2 minutes and 30 seconds and press the button. The instruments display, so this is very straightforward. It's just the same as the phosphate. Let's get one of these. So they give you 6 tests. They're not that generous. Let's get 10 milliliters of water inside. Let's clean this to take out oils and fingerprints and whatever. And because I don't know how much time it will give me to prepare the powder, I'm going to prepare the powder right away. Make sure that these tiny corners don't hold any powder, and the powder is all at the bottom corner. So it's open. Let's get this 10 millimeters to the front. I'm turning it on. It says press add C1. Okay, it's inside. I press it, and now it blinks. For a long time. Okay, it's ready. It says now add C2 and then press. So let's open this. Let's fold the sides of the packet so it funnels the powder to a very narrow point at the end and get it inside. means it's all in. Okay, now we should shake it for 20 seconds. Okay, still see some dust. This thing hasn't dissolved completely, as it happens with the phosphate. This hasn't dissolved completely. On the phosphates, they tell us to do this for 2 minutes, but here they just advise 20 seconds. Let me see on the other instructions. Shake gently for 20 seconds. Okay. But there's still dust. Is this not supposed to dissolve completely and I'm over shaking? Seems a bit better now. See no bubbles. But there's still particles that I see falling. Okay, let's place this inside. And as I suspected, this thing turned off. So this is one of those tests that has a very small limit of time for you to do everything. Well, what I'm going to do, because I have this prepared and they advise us that we should not have the sample stand for very long, I'm going to get the other cuvette filled with water. I'm not sure how accurate this test will be. So this is the ones that have a very short time limit, which is a big problem. Okay, let's begin again. We press, put the first sample, press, wait. Now we remove this one and put the one that has the powder, the reagent inside, and now we press for a few seconds and it has the countdown. In the meantime, I'm going to wash this one. Okay, I filled it with RO water so that there aren't any stains inside. Okay, note you have to be quick with this test. Otherwise the unit turns off and you have to start again. And of course, because of this, and they warn that the sample shouldn't be outside for long, the result might not be that accurate. Still a minute to go. And to add to that problem, I had to shake for more than 20 seconds, and maybe I should have done 20 seconds regardless of the dust not being completely dissolved. Maybe that's not the purpose. I expect iodine to be very low because iodine is one of the elements, the trace elements that is quickly depleted, and I haven't been dosing. Yeah, so it says 0. The thing is that I dose twice per week, and I expect that which is what happened. I dosed 4 days ago, and by now the iodine should have been completely depleted. Okay, let's clean this one and go to the last test, the iron. Let's turn this off. Keep it here, everything's inside. And let's go. Iodine is at 0, strontium is at 0, and I suspect iron is going to be at 0 too. Strange, they have these outside. Well, but this time I'm going to prepare things well in advance. Because although I got 0, maybe the result wasn't that accurate. We need the battery, and let's read the instructions. I'm guessing it's very similar. Oh, this has Spanish instructions. Interesting. They had Spanish instructions on the outside. And on the inside, they have English, and this is just the quick reference guide which we are going to use. The tips for accurate measurements are the same. So we fill the first sample with tank water, put it inside, let it calibrate, and then we add the packet, replace the cap and shake gently for 2 minutes. And then it's the same. So this one is exactly, the instructions are exactly the same and the timings than the faucet. Let's get the 10 milliliters. No, first let's take care of the powder, the reagent here. Okay, let's fold it, because with the 2 minutes of shaking I'm not sure if it gives me more than 1 minute to do all the other stuff. So it's here. Keep saying they should have used pills for these things. Okay, 10 milliliters of water. Close the cap. Clean. And this time I have to be much quicker. I have here the timer for the phosphate, which will be useful. Okay, let's get inside. Turn it on. It's already inside. Press C1. And now C2, which we must act quickly. Powder inside. The powder on this one floats. All in. Cap. And now timer. Okay, let's clean this quickly. Get it inside. And close it. And this thing was, when I was closing, rebooted. So let's fill this again with 10 milliliters. These people were joking when they created these things. So, clean this. I think you really need to do it with 2 vials. There's no way. You have to use the 2 vials because it doesn't give you time. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I really hate doing Hanna tests. So this is the water without reagent, and now the water with the reagent, and we have to wait 3 minutes and we'll get the result for iron, which I suspect is going to be 0, because I have lots of algae in the refugium. I have Chaetomorpha, Caulerpa, Alimeda, and they take care of the iron. So even with all this fast forward that I'm going to do in this video, I can say that this was no fun. This was no fun. Too much too much testing. It's not something that I'm wishing to repeat anytime soon. In order to get the dosing pump working, I still need to get some tubes, some airlines that I can fit on the... I'm not sure how this works. These caps here, supposedly you can use them to put some tubes here, and you put the other tube on the inside. I'm going to check how this works and see if I can get it to work soon. And I'll get the dosing based on the numbers I was dosing by hand, and in maybe a couple of weeks I'll test again and adjust the dosing pump. And it's 0. Okay, let's clean this. So this wraps up for iron 0. So this wraps up this horrible testing sequence. I hope no one is still watching this. I'll probably not release this video after I finish this. I'm not sure, I have to think about it. So here we are. So Hanna, of course, is aware of this problem with the time on the checkers, which don't allow time to do everything you need, and turns off the unit automatically to save the battery. And they address this problem on the phosphate ULR unit, because now it's 7 minutes. But these ones, no, they need to, they haven't addressed it. They still pump out these units with the same issue, which would be something very easy for them to solve. And I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I hate doing these Hanna checkers. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll say how this goes, if this is working or not. I'm very curious what happens with the next testing, which will be based on daily dosings. Once again, thanks for watching.